Hey, so if you are paying attention to what's been going on in the beta, you'd be likely to have seen the big change to Evoker that happened last night. Or maybe you watched this, something about it this morning. So the big change to Evoker was that they completely changed how Eye of Infinity works. And now Eye of Infinity no longer generates Essence Burst on Eternity Surge critical strikes, and it now instead will grant you essence instead. The other big change was that they buffed Pyre by about 30%. Pyre's damage by 30% baseline, which is what we've been asking for. And I mean, it was either they had to do something with it. Pyre's damage was just so bad that we were not even using it in like, span 5 or 6 targets. But with this change, it seems now like you're going to be just spamming Pyre on 4 or more targets, which is nice. And then with 3 targets and 2 targets, you're going to be changing up when you use Pyre based upon charge blast charges. This does have an effect on our single target, though. Minor single target nerf, because we are no longer able to just pump out disintegrates with Essence Burst, which are buffed by the Titanic Wrath talent. So I've kind of gone through and done a little bit of testing last night as well as this morning. Not so much like sims and anything hard like Preheat or Jericho will do, but I just wanted to see, can we still use Feed the Flames? Is it still viable to use Feed the Flames, or is that just a no longer useful thing? I'll show you my AoE build that I think is going to be the way to go. So the big change for AoE, and both builds actually, is that we're going to be picking up at least 1 point in innate magic. So you want at least 1 point in it. You can throw 2 into it if you want to. Just that extra essence regeneration. Actually, we'll just throw 2 in it for now. So you want to have the essence ability, essence regeneration. So whereas previously, because of how good Eye of Infinity was with scintillation, our resource wasn't essence, it was essence burst. And the developers want us to use essence as our ability, which is fair. I don't see that as a bad thing. And I think this actually, overall, it makes the rotation a little bit more interesting. But so what I've done for my AoE build is we've gone back to Ever-Burning Flame style of, and this is what they were talking about last night in the Discord, is that we're going back to an Ever-Burning Flames style of Capstone, picking up Burnout, Snapfire, Firestorm, no longer picking up Font of Magic. You could potentially go with Engulfing Blaze, but I would pick up Ruby Embers. Just it feels better to have Ruby Embers up, and I think it'll be better for like priority targets too, because you put that dot on the target. And you want to pick up Volatility, 2 points of Volatility. So Pyre now has a 30% chance to flare up and explode on the nearby target. Plus, Pyre does increase 30% more damage. So Pyre actually does, on my character right now, 8.4k, and it spreads to all targets, and it has a chance to flare up and proc again. So it's actually pretty good. It does a lot of damage, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. We drop Hoarded Power because we are no longer in AoE situations relying on Essence Burst to keep us going. So before, we would just use Scintillation with Hoarded Powder, and we would just be able to spam out Disintegrates, and we would Pyre on 20 Charge Blast stacks. Now it's going to be more Charge Blast spamming in 4 target cleave and above, so it's going to make that Primal Council boss like really easy for us to move around. We're going to be super mobile on that fight because like you're not going to press Disintegrate much at all. We also, in order to get up those 2 volatility charges, we also have to dip out of Titanic Wrath. So once again, not relying so much on Essence Burst, more on just the power of Pyre and volatility spread. The other thing that we do is, instead of picking Eye of Infinity, You can see their critical essence surge critical strikes generate 1 essence now. You now pick up causality in that essence abilities, so your pyre and your disintegrate reduce the cooldown on eternity surge. So now you're able to, it's almost like you're swapping in AoE fire breath for eternity surge is a way to think about it. So as before, we were using feed the flames to reduce the cooldown on fire breath in single target and at the time of AoE because of how bad pyre was. But now we can actually maintain a higher level dot of fire breath on people because we're running ever burning flames with firestorm, and then we're using causality while we're spamming out our pyres to decrease our cooldown of eternity surge, and so we're able to eternity surge more often. It's actually pretty fun. It's not like it's a really simple AoE rotation, and unless they do any sort of other major changes, this might be the sort of way things are going to go. So this is a whole mess here because everybody got things changed. So let's get into the rotation. So for this rotation, you're going to precast Firestorm, followed up by Dragon Rage. This is like opener, full cooldown. So Firestorm into Dragon Rage, and then into Eternity Surge, Fire Breath. Then you're going to spam Pyre. And whenever you get a proc, you can hit a Living Flame charge. When you get a burnout prop, you can hit Living Flame to proc your Snapfire to get another Firestorm going. And continually pyre, continue to pyre, continue to pyre. And then when Eternity Surge comes off cooldown, you Eternity Surge on however many targets, 2, 3, 4, or more. And then you're going to tip the scales and hit your Fire Breath. And you should, if you're doing decent on your timings and everything, you should be able to have that. I think it's like 36-second Dragon Rage. So let's see if I can do that right now. I've been practicing it. I still have muscle memory from the old build, so I might fuck it up. But let's go. So precast here. I'm not going to lust for this though. So we're going to precast Firestorm. If Firestorm's going off, Dragon Rage, Eternity Surge level 1 just to get it out, and then Fire Breath, Pyre, 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 Azure Strike, Pyre, Azure Strike, Pyre, Pyre, and see I'm getting close. And then Fire Breath. There we go. Eternity Surge level 2. And I'm going to tip the scales preemptively. And I'm not quite going to get it to repeat, but wow, I'm not getting any burnout procs. This is unfortunate. But so that's the general idea. And so you can see like these dummies. So like with Dragon Rage active, that's going to assume that like they're full health. And so I'm sitting here doing, 70k on a, now it's going down because the target is at 0 health. But that's sort of the general rotation, at least what it seems like for now. And so you can pop these huge fire breaths now, which is nice. I'm just going to continue doing this for a little bit longer so you can kind of get a feel. And just continue to pyre Azure Strike, Azure Strike, pyre, Azure Strike. I'm going to repeat. And then whenever your Firestorm, you want to cast that to make sure you get that going, keep that up. Yeah, so there we go. So that was 2 minutes almost on a dead mob, and I was doing about 50k overall. You see Pyre is a lot higher, Fire Breath's a lot higher. It's going to take a little bit more time to kind of practice this a bit, but it's not bad. It's a lot better than the rotation of what it was before, which was just basically your single target rotation, throwing in a pyre when there's a lot of targets. Now during like Lust, that's going to be it's going to be a lot faster. Overall, the one thing I have noticed is that with this new build, it definitely slows everything down a bit, but we hit harder. So it's a little bit of a trade-off there. Let's go and do the single target. So for single target, it's very similar build to what we had before. So We go down, we want to get Engulfing Blaze. Pick up Heat Wave, Catalyze, Font of Magic, Burnout, and then Feed the Flames. Here, I find using Eye of Infinity works really well. It really doesn't... Overall, the single target does not really change much. I do keep Hoarded Power in, just for that extra 20% chance to Essence Burst not to be consumed. And then have the one in Titanic Wrath to get that little bit of a damage boost. And this is pure single target. So in pure single target, you don't need Charge Blast. Because why would you want it? It's a waste of a talent. The only thing that I'm a little bit shaky on, and I think I'm doing the right thing, is that when you don't have a Burnout proc, when you don't have an Essence Burst, you can Azure Strike. That's about it. That's the one thing I would change on that, because you don't want to hard cast Engulfing Blaze. One other option you could do is you could potentially pick up Ruby Embers. That's an option. Faster cast, and you put the dot on the target. It doesn't trigger anything else, but at least you get the dot on, and you can stack 3 times. And so just over the course of a fight, you're doing that extra damage. Whether or not it beats out Engulfing Blaze, I'm not going to sit here doing 5-minute attempts all day. That's a computer's job. That's what the Sims are for. In pure single target, you could dip out on Eternity Span as well. So you could dip Eternity Span, throw it into Titanic Wrath. In pure single target, in 2-target cleave, you could go that. I think that's going to end up being the build for 2-target cleave and single target fights, is just all changing where Eternity Span is and throwing it into Titanic Wrath. Or the other possibility too for single target, for 2-target cleave, would be to dip Titanic Wrath and throw it into Charge Blast. And so that way you're throwing a 20 stack Pyre at the target and hoping it procs. I'm not a huge fan of the hope it procs kind of style of play. I prefer, it's good if it ends up simming higher over a course of a 5-minute or 10-minute fight, I'll take it. But for me personally, when it comes to Feely Craft stuff, which is all this is what I'm doing right now, I would rather take out Eternity Span, throw it into Titanic Wrath, and there we go. There's my pure single target. So this would be like, what's a pure single target fight in the raid now? I don't even know if there is Diurna, maybe. Diurna, it's like mostly single targets. Like you could probably do that on this one. There's not a lot going through my head here because every boss has ads, it seems. Taros. This would be your Taros build. So this is what I would do for Taros, and this is what I would do for pretty much every other boss fight, minus the one big ad fight for sure. So let's go over this and go over this fight. Go over this rotation. So this rotation doesn't really change too much. With this single target build, what I've been doing is I precast Living Flame on pull. While it's traveling, you hit Shattering Star. Then you hit Dragon Rage. Eternity Surge at 1. Fire Breath at 1. And you're going to be weaving Disintegrates in with your Living Flame when you have your Burnout procs. And one key thing, because we don't have the crit anymore with Essence Burst, Living Flame Burnout procs are super valuable now. So you really want to make sure that you don't overcap on them and you want to use them. I would say during Dragon Rage, it's probably better to cut your Disintegrate short to get out a Living Flame, so that way you can proc an Essence Burst on your Disintegrate, so that way you can get that fire breath back up, then tip the scales and Eternity Surge to keep that up for the whole time. It is a fairly tight timing, and if you can do it correctly, you can actually get a Shattering Star off. Your second Shattering Star off will come on, or your third Shattering Star in the fight will be coming up just before Eternity Surge. So if you are really good at your timings, and it might be a haste issue on this one, you might have to have a certain amount of haste. You might be able to Shattering Star, Eternity Surge, then go back into Disintegrates with the remainder, just like 6 seconds on Dragon Rage. But like I said, it's a tight timing. So let's see if I can do this. So we're going to Living Flame, Eternity Surge, Shattering Star, Lust, Essence Burst. There we go. Oh, I totally fucked that up because I'm trying to talk. All right, but anyways, that's the rotation. I fucked that one up pretty bad, so I don't want to sit here. I'm going to edit it out and skip ahead. Okay, so slight change in the build because for some reason, I don't know if it's maybe the target dummies or there's a bug or something, but Burnout doesn't seem to be proccing like ever right now. So what I've done is I put it in Hoarded Power just for now. Ideally, you shouldn't have to, like this morning I was doing it fine, and like last night I was doing it just fine, but now like I'm getting 1 burnout proc during my entire fire breath. So I don't know what's going on here, but let's try this again for the 4th time. There we go. All right, hey, me here again, just briefly interrupting the video. There was a few sort of thoughts I had while I was rendering out the video when it came to the single target rotation and talents. The one would be to change Eye of Infinity over to Causality. I don't know number-wise. Feel-wise, it feels like roughly the same. Number-wise, over the course of a fight, Causality might eke out just a little bit more damage than Eye of Infinity. My reasoning behind using Eye of Infinity initially was to generate more essence, so that way I could be using more essence abilities and trying to get out more essence bursts with burnout procs. That was my reasoning behind it. However, if you take Causality, when you cast an essence ability like Disintegrate, similar to when in the the AoE rotation, when you're throwing out pyres, it will refresh the cooldown of Eternity Surge, which means you can get more Eternity Surges out. Whether or not there's going to be a significant difference in damage between the two of them, I don't know. We're going to have to wait for sims on that. And the other thing would be that in 2-target cleave, you will take Charge Blast, and you'll be using Charge Blast or Pyre on a full 20-stack Charge Blast. And using the 2-target cleave with Causality for sure. Guaranteed on that one. It's just unknown for me right now until I see sim data from Preheat and Jericho. Until then, back to the video. Sorry about the interruption. So that's the opener. And now for some reason Burnout's actually proccing. I think it might have just been lag, because there's a ton of people over there. So it could have just been lag. I would have rather have it in Titanic Wrath, but anyways, yeah, I think it was lag. That's my guess. Was just the server tick rates there's a lot of people playing over there, so it might be something to do with that. But yeah, I guess like 49k 40k on single target, it's a definite decrease from what we used to do, because before we were just spamming. I mean, there's probably gonna be more builds that are gonna come out. Oh, why do I have it in Power Swell? I don't want it in there. That's weird. But anyways, I think this is overall, this is a buff to Evoker. Some people are seeing it as a huge nerf. I think it's just a slight change to our rotation, and that there's going to be more tuning to come. So if you have beta, get out there, play it, test this out, try it out, see how it feels. I could see them buffing some of the damage of certain abilities because of this change. Like, we're no longer doing certain things. because of this change in the rotation. But I think this is good. I think this is a good change overall. It does give us a better AoE rotation. It gives us actually a distinct AoE rotation and build. It gives us sort of like somewhat of a Mythic Plus kind of build too, that's, you know, still working on. And then it gives us a solid single target build as well, where we were kind of exchanging what we're doing. So like in AoE, our focus is now on getting Eternity Surge proc going more with using Essence abilities, because we're spamming Pyre, which is a 2-cost ability. Whereas in single target, we are trying to get Fire Breath back up by using Essence Bursts still, but we have to really focus in on generating more essences rather than just having Essence Bursts coming out of our ass. But anyways, hopefully this little video will help you with any questions you have. Feel free to pop into the Evoker Discord, check it out, ask questions there. You can ask more questions down in the comments below. If you like this video, like and subscribe it. And you can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv Canadian Cow. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, peace.